Because marketing does sales enablement with product marketing. We organize events, we organize e-mailings, we do campaigns, we create content, and all of that has a lot of value. But you will see that your sales team will keep asking for more and more and more because they don't see the big picture.
Hello everyone, and thank you. Thank you for following the Growth Hub podcast for such a long time. It all started in 2017 with Edward Ford. He recorded 84 fantastic episodes and set the foundation for what the show is today. Reta Westman, Sayala Palainen, and eventually me then joined the adventure and tried to continue what Edward had started. And we've received a lot of support and we're incredibly humbled by it. If you're an avid listener of the Growth Hub podcast, you probably noticed our absence in the past 6 months. And the reason for that is that we needed time. We needed time to think about where to take the show next to give you more as a listener. And if you think about it, the show has been around for 7 years now, following the exact same formula. And in marketing, 7 years is an eternity. So we thought it was time for something new, something different. Now rest assured, the Growth Hub podcast lives on, simply under a slightly new format, a new look, and a new feel. We're back with shorter episodes, aiming at 35 minutes max, tons of guests, and hopefully more inspiration and ideas for you to take home and implement to grow your B2B company. As always, to support the show, please follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up down below the subscribe button. Somewhere there. Now, enough with the boring stuff. In episode 104 of the Growth Hub podcast, we'll address a very common strategic bottleneck: team misalignment. Alignment is always a hot topic, and we've discussed it extensively here in the Growth Hub podcast. And there's a reason for it. If sales, marketing, and CS teams don't row in the same direction, you won't go far, and your competition won't ask for permission to take your market shares. However you look at it, alignment is the only way forward, and of course, this is easier said than done. Our next guest, Joel Gaudeul, is one of the most experienced marketing professionals I've had the chance to work with and learn from. He has worked in B2C and B2B, and he has worn the hats of brand manager, product marketer, CMO, COO, and CRO. Yes, he's been busy. He's seen all sorts of alignments or misalignments in various companies with unique approaches. He's also played a major part in both successful and more challenging situations. And today, he'll share thoughts on how to get it done, as well as a couple of pitfalls to avoid along the way. So, hi Joel, and welcome to the show.
Hi Clement, nice to see you again.
Well, I briefly introduced you, but I know there's more to it, so what's your story?
So I'm 42, I'm a father of 3, I recently had twins, and I've been doing this gig for about 20 years or so, but I must admit, I haven't been faithful to marketing all my life. I've been expanding and looking at what we could do in the startup environment, and I've done a bit of revenue, I've been doing operations, I've been doing RevOps. So I've been playing around, but my first true love is tech. So I'm a bit of a gig, and I love to do that, but I love to do also management, being a leader, and lastly, doing marketing, to be honest.
And that's why we have you here. But I mean, as you said, you had the chance to wear quite many hats. So you're not just CMO, you've been COO, CRO for Chief Operating Officer and Chief Revenue Officer. So did that change the way you operate?
Some of the jobs really helped me. So doing operations helped me understand the different stakeholders in a company, the different challenges, the way of working with the different teams and what they expect from my role, whether I'm at marketing or somewhere else. It changed also definitely the way I see the sales team. You know, because working in marketing, you've been working alongside sales for a long time. You understand how they operate, but you are not really part of it. And I think being able to have a deep dive into the way they think, the way they work together, the way they are motivated, their views on the world, on the business side of the company is very enlightening in the way I exchange and discuss with them. Doing all those roles also helped me, bring my skills to the different position I've been in. And meaning that I bring something that is a bit different from other marketers is I'm an architect. Having worked in those different roles, I understand how I can plug my tech stack into the company's overall. I've got some experience in CRMs that are something that joins everything together. And I've got a better views of the big picture when I do my job. So this really helped in the way I do my marketing today.
Okay, well, that's actually a perfect segue to the topic of the day, which is alignment, at least between marketing and sales. And maybe we'll talk also about product and customer success later today. But so despite all of those blogs, conferences, also podcasts episodes, including this one today, talking about sales and marketing alignment, most of the time, those teams and also maybe the product team and a customer success team, they operate in silo. So how do you put an end to this?
I don't know if we can put an end to it, but we can work on it. There are multiple things that help people work together. The first thing is the vision. If a company has a strong vision and we know where we're heading as a group, it's easier to operate and align together. One thing that we often see is the vision is not clear enough. We have a big picture of where we want to be, meaning that we want to be a leader in 5 years or reach this amount of revenue. But the vision needs to be a bit more precise to make sure that people are focusing toward and converging toward the same target. Because if not, you work in parallel. So it's about the same direction, but you don't really think together. It's also about ego. Relationship between the leaders is a key. You need to make sure that your VP, head of, or C-level people handling the different part of the business are fitting together, are spending a lot of time together, are trusting each other, and don't have any secret agenda. And that, I think, is a big challenge. Because what we see in startups is often those roles are filled at the same time. So you end up having your head of sales, your head of marketing joining the company at about the same period of time, trying to build up and create their synergies within their own teams, and end up working a lot in silos, which, in my opinion, is not a good way to hire people. You should hire one, then the other, because there is a need of sync. So making sure that arrive at different time to make sure that they are in sync, because one is stable and the other one is more flexible. You need to make sure that there is a good fit. And if you have hire those two people at the same time, it means that it's very difficult to make sure that they match because they didn't meet before. So I think that's something that is really important. Another thing is spending the time to understand the needs. Because often I do my roadmap for marketing. I know where I want to head. I know I'm going to serve the objective. But ultimately, the sales team has different timing, different needs, and expect me to operate and support them at different moments of time or for different segments, which are not always the one that I'm going to be the best at because I don't have the right team, because I know marketing has less impact on those segments. So this means that you need to build the plan together. It cannot be one person building its plan and the other one building his own plan and trying to make sure it works together. It's really building a joint plan and making sure that for marketing, often we have the flexibility to say, okay, we will focus on this part or that event or that segment before, and I can shuffle things around in my roadmap just to make sure sales is happy. We need also to make sure that we are aligned on definition. What is a lead? What is a MQL, SQL, an opportunity? Because often we discover that the way people define opportunities is very different even within the sales team. So without a very strong revenue operations team or a sales ops team that is very strong, you need to make sure that you have alignment on the definition to make sure that you have also the level of details on the funnel. Because if the funnel is not detailed enough, it will be very difficult to understand where marketing can impact, because marketing is not only lead generation. It's a big part of what we do, but we can impact every step of a funnel. We need also to have a SLA. So it might be a myth. People think that having a SLA, so a service level agreement between both teams, can be just something on paper and no one follow up on it. But I think it's important to define what are the rules. If I'm pushing a MQL to you, I want to make sure you handle it properly. This is the basic commitment I have. On the other side, I need to make sure that the quality is there. And that's something that we can discuss. We can work together on scoring. We can make sure that the quality is there. The best way to do it is to have an SLA and weekly meetings to understand what is happening with marketing, what is happening with sales. Often I will jump in all the sales meeting on Mondays to make sure that I show my face. I can understand what is happening, what are the dynamics, what are the big deals that are working on, what are the challenges they are facing. Also, you need to make sure that you focus on the right metrics. Often we'll talk about leads, the reality of it. You should move down the funnel to be exact.
So I have two follow-up questions to this. So you mentioned that maybe you shouldn't hire those two people at the same time. So which comes first? In your opinion, which should come first?
That's a tricky one. To be honest, I would say sales, because sales is what's fueling the business. And ultimately, when marketing jumps in, it's usually because sales has been very successful and we see that there is no scalability in what sales is doing. You know, the more sales you want to do, the more salespeople you need to have. Basic. It's very simple. Each person carries a quota. If you want to do 10 times the quota, you hire 10 extra people. That's it. When it comes to marketing, it's about scalability. So it can come little by little and you can grow the team, along the way. What you need to make sure is sales becomes first, but you need not to forget something that is important with marketing is product marketing. Because usually product marketing is the first function that is needed in the company when it comes to marketing. It's not lead gen, it's not growth, it's not branding, it's product marketing. And we usually hire the product marketing last, which is a terrible mistake because product marketing is what's going to make the sales team more efficient. It's what will make sales enablement possible. So this is something you need to think about.
Okay, that's a very good enlightenment on my question. And then my second one is, you mentioned the funnel and the SLA. Would you say that you should have an SDR, or is it okay to also work without an SDR to ensure that, you know, the gap between the SQL and the MQL is not too large?
To be frank, I'm a big SDR fan, but when it comes to sales organization, SDRs have been something that was trendy and became a bit out of fashion for some companies. I would say that you need someone to make a call. If your sales team, I'm not being mean to them, if your sales team is too lazy and cannot spend the time required to qualify every lead that comes in from marketing, you need to have your own SDR. I've seen organizations where the SDR team was in between sales and marketing. I've seen SDRs attached to marketing. I've seen marketing, and that's what I've been doing, is hire an external company to do the SDR role to qualify your leads. But it depends on your challenge. If your sales team is having issues with the volume of leads and complaining about the quality, of course, you need SDRs. If it's a matter of having a long time conversation and working more on account-based marketing, of course, SDRs are not as important. They are useful for mapping, but with growth and AI, you can do a lot on mapping accounts. So I would say it's not essential. And sometimes you don't need an SDR. You just need someone to make a phone call, and it doesn't need to be someone to book a meeting. It doesn't need to be someone to have a discussion about the product. It can be just someone to qualify, make sure the person is the right person and they have a project, for example. And that can be done externally with BPOs.
Now, if we step away from the sole funnel, and if we think metrics in general, What metrics do you think sales marketing, and then you mentioned also product marketing, so product marketing, product, and maybe even customer success should follow together?
My advice when it comes to metrics is first, make sure that you work with the same set of data. If you can have the same dashboard between sales, marketing, customer success, and all the teams, this is essential. Because usually what happens is we look at the data and I will say, oh, I just sent you 20 MQLs. And the sales team will tell me, no, I've got 15. And something happened in between. And it's not a matter of filters. It's not a matter of workflows. It's just a matter of we are not looking at the data the same way, or we don't use the same set of data. So data reconciliation is the key. If you can have the same dashboard, it's even better. You need to make sure that the metrics are cut into small bits and pieces to have a view of a funnel that is very detailed. Because if you don't have those level of details, you end up not understanding what is happening with the leads you are sending. What I usually see is companies where the sales team is limiting the number of statuses from 2, 3, 4, just to go to the opportunity stage. In fact, you need maybe 10 steps before the opportunity stage to understand what is happening. You need to make sure that there is a good adoption of your CRM, because you can look at the data all you want. If it's not properly filled in, you're dead. If it's not the same data, you're dead. So you need to make sure that you share the same data, you have the details of the metrics, and that the data is properly updated. So usually you might have Salesforce and HubSpot or other systems. They work well together. It's just a matter of making sure that the definition at the beginning are the right one and the level of details is sufficient.
Asking for a friend, do you have a recommendation to make sure that the data is filled properly by the sales team?
People will say the sales don't like to fill in data in the CRMs. I think CRMs need to be not flexible at all. This is not, I'm not going to be popular by saying that. You need to have something that is very detailed, where you've got a lot of fields to put the level of context. So for example, if I disqualify a lead, I need to understand why. You need to make sure that the number of options is very limited. Because one thing you don't want a salesperson to do is to have to think about what they do. I say that because the sales team, they are like people doing boxing. They are building reflexes. They know how to handle a conversation. They know how to move a deal forward, but they need to build reflexes. And those reflexes will never happen with a CRM. So you need to limit the level of effort and thinking process to make sure that you use it efficiently. You need also to make sure that when it comes to adoption, they have understanding of what is the value they get out of it. Because if they work on something, they need to get something out of it. They are salespeople. So they need to make sure they have a return on investment. So they need to understand what is the data they are going to be able to leverage, or they are going to be better at handling their portfolio and moving their deal forward by using the data. And if you do that, they will adopt the product and they will work with it. I've been very successful with a lot of sales team because we spend the time on adoption. And the adoption is not just the job of the sales ops or rev ops. They have plenty of things to do. It's a job of everyone, marketing, sales, CS, and the sales ops team.
So now we've been talking about how to make it work, but why do you think sometimes, or in most cases maybe, sales and marketing alignment fails?
Excellent question. I do feel that the failure can come from many directions. First, the leaders, the founders, the big boss of the companies. Because if they don't give you a straight answer on where we're heading, you're failing. If they don't ensure that sales and marketing are working well together, they are failing. And usually, they don't want to meddle in that. They want to make sure that, those are grown-up adults. They have seniority. They have the experience. They should figure it out. As a manager, you need to ensure people are working well together, whatever your level in the organization. So that's one of the reasons of failure. So vision, not making sure that there is alignment as a manager. Also, secret agenda, what people want really to achieve. And usually it's down to making sure that we reach the quota. And the quota of a sales team is not exactly matching the quota of a marketing team because the timing is not the same. Marketing needs to come first, and the lead we are generating today might be closed in 3, 6, 9, 12, up to 18 months in some big deals. So you need to understand that it takes time. So making sure that those timing are right in between teams will be important. But that's the reason why we fail. We fail also because sometimes we just don't click. I mean, the marketing leader and the sales leader don't like each other. It happens. It's part of life. So you need to accept that if it's not working, you need to change one or the other. Could be marketing, could be sales, up to you. But you cannot stay with this situation. And why it fails also, it's usually data. People don't agree on the numbers. They don't agree on the quota. They don't agree on the forecast and don't agree on the result. The quota is usually because sales thinks that the quota will come from this and that segment, while marketing will see the quota as coming from different channels, which means that you have discrepancies because the channels I'm supporting might not be the one that are going to be used by the segment I need the quota to be reached. So this is one of the issues. If you don't agree on the number, you can't trust each other. If you don't look at the numbers together, you can't trust each other. So looking at the number as a whole and sharing those numbers is something that's going to help with this type of failure.
Now, if we think of a bit of life hack, do you have a routine to make sure that this alignment work you're talking about actually sticks?
Being at every weekly meeting from the sales team. Being there, listening, having a little chat after to the different salespeople, or tell me a bit more about your deal, or congrats on this signing, etc. So spending a lot of time at the coffee machine. So drink a lot of coffee, drink a lot of tea, do a lot of fika, but be there. Spend the time with the people. I know, we work a lot remote. When I go to the office, I make sure that I spend as much time walking around, chatting with people to help them not only understand what I do, and because I need to keep talking about what we do as marketing and what is the vision for marketing, but also understanding what they are working on and how we can help them. But be careful. Be careful when you do that to make sure that you are not just talking to an account executive who wants something. His head of wants the same thing, but the C-level above wants something else. So the alignment within the different levels within the sales organization might not be there always. Also, I make sure that I have lunch regularly with some of the key players in the team. I sometimes take part in deals. I've been doing so in the past. So sitting in some meetings, if you are a martech, I'm a marketer, sitting in one of those closing deal meetings is useful. I can pitch in. I need to be good at my job. I need to understand what the product does. I need to understand where the sales is at, but you can support people with that. And always go back to the vision. Whenever you meet someone, talk about what you're doing, but talk about the big picture, not the small actions. Always bring back the big picture. Because if not, they won't understand the array of what marketing is doing and how marketing can support them. Because marketing does sales enablement with product marketing. We organize events. We organize emailings. We do campaigns. We create content. And all of that has a lot of value. But you will see that your sales team will keep asking for more and more and more because they don't see the big picture. They don't see everything is connected. And that's something that is a bit of a challenge. But having those regular conversations, following up on your conversation of the day before, the week before, helps a lot with the relationship.
So maintaining the relationship basically with the other teams is the best way to make sure that the glue sticks.
Sales and marketing is a couple. You need to have regular conversation. You need to have little touches, brushes to show that you recognize the other exists. You need to have sometimes hard conversation. And this is what makes it work. And sometimes you need to be apart. It can help. So it's really a love-hate relationship, but you need to work to make it work.
You need to work to make it work. That's a good one. But I mean, you talked about it already. You mentioned technology a little bit, but yeah, like alignment needs more than good intentions. It also needs technology. So do you have a go-to tech stack or like go-to tools when it comes to that to ensure that this alignment is actually possible?
The only tool I've been faithful to is HubSpot. I'm in love with this software. Because I see the traction, I see the momentum, and I've been following up on the company and the vision of the product for a long time. I'm partial to it. Of course, there is Salesforce, there are Pipedrive and other software, but I think HubSpot is the one that encompasses everything we need. It's not perfect, but it's moving forward very fast. The speed of development of this product is amazing. It's been 3 years now that they have moved faster into development cycle, and we see the difference. We see everything happening very fast. After that, you need a powerful tool for your data to flow correctly. So usually I use Segment. You need to have databases for B2B, like Conism, SimilarWeb, depending on your business. You need to have flexibility in your low-code technology, like N8N. So those are the tools I use a lot. And for reporting, usually I rely on Looker, the previous Google Data Studio. That's what I do. Okay. But I will end up adding some bits and bobs all along the way. You need to make sure when you do your budget to have a line for testing new products, because marketing will usually have needs along the year, and you want to try out the new AI stuff, the new enrichment software, the new low-code technology. So you need to make sure that you have a lot of flexibility on your budget. It doesn't need to be a big amount, but you need to have this buffer when it comes to software.
Now, in some companies, testing new software can be complicated due to, security measures. So how would you bypass that in a sense in this scenario?
I think, marketing is always playing on the gray zone. The introduction of growth marketing, growth hacking means that we are used to be on this in between. There is something that I do usually. The first thing is I secure finance. When I come to any place, I make sure that I master my budget. I have a perfect understanding of the spending. I put a lot of pressure on the team to make sure that follow up on budget is properly filled in the follow-up forms, that they are very careful with the money. I'm behaving like a father. I want to make sure that my money is well spent, and I make sure that it's properly organized into my documents. So the finance team relationship is really good. Once I have that, I've secured the hardest. I mean, if you have a finance vouching for what you do, you have a bit more flexibility. After, I work with the IT team, security team, or whatever it's called in your company. And I try to help them understand our challenges, our context, the need to change software. I show them that I'm careful about reading the T&Cs, that I'm careful about GDPR, that I'm conscious about the risk. I usually ask to have insulated data in a storage place to avoid having a risk of leak, and making sure that when I do the architecture of my software, I'm careful about that, So I work with them. But very early on, I have those conversations about, we will need to try software. These are the rules I want to follow up. What are the guidelines you are going to give me? And there is something that I've learned and that I've learned this year even more, is you need to make sure that when someone says no, don't stop. Don't stop when someone says no to what you want to do. Ask, why is it a no? How can I make it a yes? And this makes a huge difference, because I've seen people in my team asking for security to be able to access our data warehouse, and the guy says no. Okay. What can I do to get a yes? What are the limitations you need to put in place? What are the additional software, additional steps I need to do to make sure you are happy with that. And usually you always find a way, because in front of you, IT people, security people are technicians, they're engineers. And engineers, they love a good problem and they love to solve it. So try to show them it's a problem and they need to find a solution. And they will. Spend the time with the different teams. That's what helps.
I love the politics behind it. It's very good. It's very good. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it for the topic of the day. But before we go, I need to ask you one last piece of advice. So what advice have you received that made you a better professional?
I think one thing that I've implemented fast in my way of working is the radical candor. I use it for management, which is basically having an honest relationship with people, being straightforward with your feedback, but accepting also that you get very direct feedback. I think that's something that helped me a lot, because people are used to me being very honest, very frank about when I'm not in agreement. And it means that they are comfortable also to give me feedback. Oh, I think what you're doing is not as good as we want it to be. And that's fine. I mean, I can make mistakes. After 20 years, I've been doing a lot of the same. So one of the challenges I have is to reinvent myself every time I change job, and to make sure that I don't reapply the same recipe again and again and again. So to be able to adapt, I need to do deep dives, but I need also those feedbacks. So I need to create this harmony between people to have this direct conversation. So I use radical candor, not only with my team, but with everyone in the company. The second thing is not to have a secret agenda. Be very clear about what you want to achieve. What is your ambition as an individual, but as a team also? We want the marketing team to be this. We want the marketing to achieve that. And this is the plan. And this plan is built. It's planned, but it's flexible. So making sure that people understand why you are asking things, why you want to oppose decisions. That's something that is really important. And overall, the last thing is empathy. We've been discussing it for a long time now. You need to have those relationships with everyone, but it needs to be honest. It needs to be true to you. So if you are a mid person, don't do marketing. If you had someone who don't like to have human interactions, don't do marketing. If you want to work remotely all your life, don't do marketing, because you need those human interactions. You need to have those touch points. You need to have those coffees. You need to make sure that during Fika, you talk about the real stuff. It can be company related. It can be work related. It can be career related, but it can be very personal. Because when people trust you, they will support you whatever you do. I used to say that when someone churns from a product, it's never due to a product. It's never down to the technology. You can have a product that fails every week, that has downtime that are massive. As long as the relationship is working, everything is fine. So build the relationship with your peers, not only with your team, but also with your founders, your C-level team, because those people are the ones that are going to vouch for you. They are the ones who are going to support you when, in terms of hardship, when you are not reaching the target, and not just turning to marketing and saying, oh, we failed this quarter. It's marketing. Because often it's a lot of factors, and marketing is just the ultimate victim of that.
Well, that's fantastic advice. I will definitely try to put a bit more of that in my everyday life as well. But Joel, that's it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. As I said, learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure our audience did as well. So again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Clem. See you later.
And this concludes today's episode. I hope you learned a thing or two, and if you did, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This podcast is brought to you by marketing agency Advance B2B. So if you're looking for a partner to assist you with strategic marketing and anything HubSpot, visit advanceb2b.com. And if you're still around to hear this, thank you for listening and take care.